We aim to be here for the long term, and we have designed a program that can be here for the long term.
What brought the Republic of Nauru to come up with such a program?
What's driven it is really in the name, the Economic and Climate Resilient Citizenship Program. The island itself once was very wealthy. I guess now much of the land is barren.
What qualifications do you look for when you have someone on your table?
The eligibility, things like, are they applying from a prohibited country, or do they have citizenship in a prohibited country? We look at whether they have a criminal record and whether they have served over 1 year in prison.
What's their expectations towards timeline if we deliver to you a full file?
So I'm confident in the long run we'll be able to continue to meet that 4-month processing time.
So that means an applicant does not have to travel physically to any representative of the country or the country itself.
That's right.
Today we're exploring something very special in the world of citizenship by investment. We're exploring the Economic and Climate Resilient Citizenship Program, and with me today is Mr. Edward Clark, the CEO of the Citizenship Unit in Nauru. Welcome.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with Passport Legacy today.
Thank you so much for flying to us here all the way across the globe.
My pleasure.
Very good. Tell us a little bit something about yourself, please.
Sure. So I joined the Nauru program in October. So for me, the citizenship by investment industry is quite new. So I'm a Kiwi. I'm from New Zealand, and that is where our office is based. I live there still today. I've spent some time in Hong Kong over the years because I worked for the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation for many years. So that is what my background is. Before joining the program, I was working for them in New Zealand as the Chief Compliance Officer. And prior to that, I spent some time within their regional team working in the financial crime compliance space. And before that, I spent many years in the corporate banking team as well. So for me, I think coming to this industry is quite unique because I'm actually able to marry up the financial crime compliance side of things as well as the corporate and sales side of things as well. So 6 months in, new to the industry, but enjoying it very much.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think, the most important when you're running a citizenship unit, I would say most probably 80% of your job goes into due diligence, compliance, and AML, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think just being able to bring some of the professionalism and maturity from the banking sector and apply that into how a citizenship by investment unit is run really helps put the program in good stead. It will help with the long-term sustainability of the program because you can design it in a way that can stand up to whatever scrutiny is applied if you build it and structure it in the right way.
Clear. What brought the Republic of Nauru to come up with such a program? What were the ideas behind that?
What's driven it is really in the name, the Economic and Climate Resilient Citizenship Program. So Nauru as a country faces enormous challenges in terms of its economic and climate resilience. Firstly, the island itself has, it once was very wealthy. They once were famed for phosphate resources. It was known as the Kuwait of the Middle East, the Kuwait of the Pacific, because of the natural resources they had on the island. And because of that, I guess now much of the land is barren. And so they're unable to grow your own crops. There's high obesity, high diabetes rates. You have challenges such as saltwater contamination in the fresh water supply. There's still about 50% of the energy on the island is powered through a diesel generator. Mm-hmm. There are no real waste management solutions. Everything that's imported to the island is just dumped. And then lastly, 90% of the residents live at low-lying coastal areas. And with climate change, global warming, and rising sea levels, their population is at risk. So in order to solve these challenges, they are trying to raise funds to effectively build an entirely new community. And so this is sort of how the program was born and what we are trying to achieve through the program. It's highly ambitious. Mm-hmm. we are not going to be able to fund the entire project out of this program, but hopefully we'll be able to make a significant contribution.
Amazing. Were there any existing models that were taken as an example when designing and implementing it, or would you say it's still quite a lot of different? Why I'm asking is because economic and climate resilient citizenship program, that's a very, very new word in the industry, right? We always talk about only citizenship by investment. Well, maybe, I don't want to say too much, but not fully sure where the funds are being located to, maybe even, right? This name says it very clear where it goes to.
That's right.
So would you say there was any example taken outside in the world from a CBI program, or quite?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, designing a new program, it gives you an opportunity to effectively pick and choose and take what is good out there and also what is maybe not working so well. And, you know, we looked a lot at what Malta were doing. We looked at a lot of what the Caribbean programs were doing, as well as our competitors in Vanuatu, to understand what is working well, what is not working well. What do we need to do to design a program that can stand up to scrutiny and also potentially help to set a new standard in terms of how a citizenship by investment unit can be run, which is what I aspirationally want to achieve with the program. There are a lot of good things that are done. So what we've done is we've looked at different policies and procedures from all the different units. We've tried to piece it together in a way that made sense, both from a commercial perspective, so that we can have a compelling product, and then also in terms of some of the policy settings that work well in the Caribbean, both from a client, both being client friendly, but also to protect the citizenship by investment unit and protect the reputation of the country and the integrity of the passport.
Okay. And when it comes to the ones exactly, you know, being a little bit newer to the industry, or maybe especially to the program, because it is a quite new program at the end of the day, what are the investment options available and how do they look like? How are they structured when it comes to, you know, a family deciding to apply? What is the starting point, and, you know, what are the routes available currently?
Obviously, depending on the size of the family and the number of individuals or dependents involved in the application, there will be an increase in cost. So the starting level, you have a $105,000 contribution for a main applicant. Their application fee is $25,000 US, and there's a $10,000 due diligence fee. So all up, you're looking at an entry level at around $140,000 US. Now, as you increase the size of your family, the application fee will increase for $27,000 up to a family of 4, and beyond that, the application fee is $29,000. The due diligence fee will increase depending on the number of applicants, so $10,000 for the original applicant, and then from memory another $7,500 for others, with the exception of a sibling, which carries a higher cost.
Would you say that is all, or most of it is donated? Is everything donated? Will the person get any return investment, or it's a one-time payment towards their citizenship?
So the other thing that I wanted to add, just in relation to the fees, is we also accept applications from a benefactor or a donation. So if you have a company as an example, or a family trust, they can sponsor the application for others as well, but there is an additional fee for that because it requires additional due diligence. And the contribution amount that goes to the government also increases depending on the overall family size. In terms of the investment channels that are available, currently it is just a contribution to the government as the only investment channel. But it is something that we will explore potentially in the future in terms of maybe opening up other investment channels, either real estate as an example, or maybe a bond option with zero interest, something like that. I think will be really compelling for potential investors. But in the meantime, my focus is really on embedding the current citizenship by investment program, making sure that that is running really well as it is, making sure the contributions are flowing through to the government and they're able to benefit from the program as it stands today, and just making sure that everything is operating as expected before we look at expanding those options.
Clear. And we talked a little bit about due diligence before. When you look into the application, especially about the reports that came out, but even earlier than that, what qualifications do you look for when you have someone on your table, on your desk?
The first thing that we would look to understand is, the eligibility, and there's no payment required. So before we accept the application, so we'll look at the application, and if we deem it being eligible, then we'll accept it formally, in which case the initial payment is required. So in terms of eligibility, it will be things like, are they applying from a prohibited country, or do they have citizenship in a prohibited country, such as Iran or Russia, Myanmar, North Korea. At the moment, we look at whether they have a criminal record and whether they have served over 1 year in prison. We really want to understand, is the individual of good standing? So these are the main criteria that we'll look for in terms of the overall eligibility. And then we also do some fundamental background checks as well before we actually accept the application. So this is around, your will check, but also negative news screening, social media screening, just to understand at a high level before we accept the application, whether it has a reasonable likelihood of success and whether there are any major red flags that would put us off from accepting it. Once we've accepted the application, then we will share the application with the Nauru Police and the Nauru Financial Intelligence Unit, who will look at it from a due diligence perspective. And we also work with a number of third parties who work with us to conduct due diligence on the ground where the applicant is. So they might do some discrete background checks to understand, is the information that has been provided, does it make sense? Does it stack up with what the applicant has said? And maybe they might, go and have a look around to make sense of the application. The main thing, of course, in terms of what we want to understand, there's both the source of funds, and has that come from a clean source, and also where the applicant has gained their wealth, and has that come from a clean source as well. Those are the two most important things. Again, because when I think about the purpose of our Citizenship by Investment unit, it is to make sure that we maintain the reputation of the country, we maintain the integrity of the passport, we maintain the integrity of the program.
Understood. Now, when someone comes to us and says, hey, I would like to go ahead with the Nauru program, I would like to obtain their citizenship, how long can they be, or what's their expectations towards timeline if we deliver to you a full file completed with government forms, all the personal information and documents that are required, and you have it with you on your desk? What timelines can be expected from submission to approval and afterwards to passport issuance?
So we advertise a processing time of around 4 months. Now, we have not yet got the first, I would say, approval in principle yet. We are still a new program and we're working through that at the moment. But the live cases that I can share with you, so we received, I guess, the first full file around the end of March. We're mid-May now, so around 2 months in, and we are at the point where we have submitted those applications through to the government for an approval in principle. And we're expecting to have that approval back within 1 or 2 weeks. Now, these are the first cases, so they're a little bit slower than usual because we're taking our time to make sure we've got everything right. We're getting everyone across it and making sure that the process is working smoothly. So I'm confident in the long run I will be able to continue to meet that 4-month processing time, possibly even get it down a little bit faster as well. Once that approval in principle is granted by the government, then we expect it to take around another month before the client receives the passport. couple of key steps in that process there from the client, and that will be to make the contribution payment through to our program office. We have accounts in Portugal and in Switzerland, so relatively easy to access. We also then need the oath of affirmation. That can be done remotely or it can be done virtually, and completion of the passport forms that's submitted through to the government, and they will then proceed with issuance of the passport, and we'll send that out to the agent to deliver to your client.
Okay. So that means an applicant does not have to travel physically to any representative of the country or the country itself.
That's right. And that's something that we believe is hugely beneficial for clients in terms of user experience. They can do the entire process remotely.
Okay. And is it a biometric passport that will be issued?
Not at the moment. The passports at the moment are the old Nauru passports, but they do have a new stock of biometric passports, which we don't yet have a timeline yet on when it will be rolled out, but we know that they've got the stock. And we'll be looking forward to sharing updates on when that is rolled out soon.
Very good. Apart from the passport, is there any ID card or TIN or anything such as issued apart from the passport, or can that be obtained for?
You can most likely obtain it through, for example, a driver's license can be obtained. Now, what I'm not able to share is how exactly that process works at the moment. It's not something that our program office supports in terms of host citizenship services. It may be something that we can look to support in the future. But at this stage, you would have to go through the standard process to get that. And I don't know exactly what that entails. For example, to get a driver's license, do you have to be on the island?
To actually do action tests, right?
Which may make it a bit more challenging for some to actually obtain those kind of documents. But I'd love to be able to provide more clarity to our agents and also to your clients on what they would look like. So I'll do that for you.
Very good. Now, coming back to the use of funds, what will the funds be used for that is paid by the client to Nauru? What will the country do with that money?
So we talked a little bit earlier around some of the challenges that the island faces in relation to their economic and climate resilience. Now, the funds that are raised through the program will be put towards the initiatives that aim to tackle that. And there's a specific initiative called the Higher Ground Initiative, which the country, as I mentioned before, is effectively to relocate their existing population in low-lying coastal areas to the top side of the island. Now, that's a highly ambitious project. At the moment, they're just working on the pilot site for that. They have leveled the ground in preparation for the first stage of development. And what they're aiming to do with this is to develop entirely new sustainable communities. So it requires solar energy solutions, energy storage. It requires smart water retention or water desalination options. It requires investment into waste management and fundamental infrastructure, reform the basis of these communities, and then, they'll build out housing project and we're supporting community buildings as well. So it's still very early stages in terms of development of the pilot site. So our program will partially fund this initiative. The government of Nauru are also at the moment applying for a grant from the Green Climate Fund, which will of course help with the necessary investment.
Clear, okay. And when it comes to Nauru passport, what would you say makes it attractive for a foreign investor to come and apply for it?
Well, the first thing that I would always talk about is the fact that through the Nauru Economic and Climate Resilient Citizenship Program, you are able to have a material impact on the people of Nauru. And that is because it is a small country with a small population, and the contribution amount will make a significant impact for them to be able to tackle the challenges in relation to climate change. And for many of the applicants that we've received, that is a compelling reason. because it enables them to obtain a secondary passport, but at the same time be able to be part of something that is bigger than just purely obtaining a second passport. Of course, there are many commercial benefits to obtaining a secondary passport, and the reason for wanting to apply, I guess, can be quite varied. We see applicants needing citizenship because they like the mobility angle. We see applicants wanting a backup plan or a plan B. We see applicants that need a passport because they don't have any other existing citizenship. So there are a range of options and drivers behind why someone might need it.
Okay, clear. And when it comes to the visa-free access of that passport, how many countries in total can someone travel to, and what are these countries generally?
So the visa-free access covers 88 countries at the moment. We are working with the Department of Foreign Affairs to try and negotiate with other countries to increase that.
Yeah.
But at the moment, 88, including the United Kingdom, Singapore, UAE, being the major ones.
Okay.
Hong Kong as well.
Yeah. Any unique tax advantages from being a passport holder of Nauru?
From a tax perspective, I don't see Nauru as being, I guess, a highly attractive tax destination, certainly not a tax haven. I would say, at least if you do get citizenship, it doesn't increase your tax obligations by any means. They don't, by default, tax on your global income if you are a citizen, no matter where you reside. So at least applicants can have that confidence. If you are a tax resident in Nauru, however, then you are taxed on your global income.
Yeah.
So if you become a tax resident on the island, then there are some material tax implications. From memory, the tax rate is around 20 to 25%. So again, it is quite high compared to some other jurisdictions.
Okay, understood. And of course, Nauru allows dual citizenship. You do not have to give up your current citizenship if you wish to apply for it. And
That's
wonderful. Very good. When it comes to long-term goals of the Nauru program, would you say that there is a cap on the program where Nauru says, hey, we only want 500 people per year, or even in total, or there was no such cap set for the program?
We don't have a cap at the moment. That is, of course, something that we will continue to consider and we'll continue to monitor. And I think it's really important for us, again, to understand the impact that the program is potentially having on the island, both positive and negative. And if we were seeing, maybe high concentrations of applications from certain geographies, or if we were seeing, a large portion of applicants wanting to reside there, then maybe we'll get to a point where we put a cap. But I don't see the need to do that today, and I don't see the need to do that in the near future. Of course, we are trying to fund a highly ambitious project, and with ambition comes expense. And that is a long-term project. I mean, it's going to be 10 plus years before we see that project completed. So we aim to be here for the long term, and we have designed a program that can be here for the long term. And earlier we talked about what the funds are being raised for. And one of the things that I think is really important is not only we are raising the funds, but we are very transparent around how the funds are being used as well. So there are audit requirements, both financial and non-financial. So by non-financial, I mean anti-money laundering audit. They look at the controls that we have. We do have an annual reporting requirement, which will report on the overall application process, the dynamics, the risks that we face, where applicants are coming from, processing times, etc. And that will be a bit of essentially our scorecard. But we'll also report on how the funds are being used in that program, and that needs to be done in a very transparent way.
Yeah.
And additionally, we are working with the government to ring fence the funds from the rest of the treasury accounts, and to have a committee in place to oversee for the approval of use of those funds as well.
And are there any differences in people who were born and raised in Nauru and, you know, are second, third generation, whatever it is, or people that are now, you know, becoming new citizens to the country? Are there any differences in law, in citizenship by investment, or in general in citizenship by descent, in fact, you know, from future generations? Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
So yes, there are, and actually it's unfortunately not very well documented in Nauru law, but they did pass a referendum many years ago that was more to do with the tribal structure on the island and being Nauruan by blood. And so there are certain restrictions or privileges that you get if you are a native Nauruan, such as the ability to purchase land on the island, as well as the ability to run for parliament, as an example. So those are probably the two major restrictions for applicants coming through the Citizenship by Investment program that you won't be able to partake in relative to native Nauruans. You can potentially purchase property under a leasehold structure, can still vote. And then the other caveat of citizenship through the program is citizenship by descendancy. So I kind of view it as buying a lifetime season pass to Nauru, in that you can bring yourself, you can bring your family members along in the application, but there is a cutoff in terms of the ability to pass that indefinitely down through the generations as well.
And that stops at the first child already? So if I'm...
stops with the grandchildren.
With the grandchildren.
The grandchildren can be included as part of the application, and they can be added after the original application is completed. But it cannot pass down indefinitely by generation.
So technically, citizenship by descent for 2 generations, if I understand that correct. Okay, very interesting, great. So guys, if you wish to learn more about the Economic and Resilient Citizenship Program of Nauru, Passport Legacy is a government-accredited agent that will be pleased to help you with your application. If you have any questions, we're very happy to clarify them. Send us an inquiry and learn more. Thank you so much, Ms. Edward. Very nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.